Hello and welcome to Myths, Monsters, and Mayhem, a podcast where we talk about monsters, creatures, and cryptids, and the stories that lurk behind them. And as a bit of fun, we discuss the mayhem they would cause if they appeared in today's society. My name's Silver. I'm going to be the host, and my co-host is Chaotic. Say hi.
Hello. Hello.
uh, we're both new to this whole podcast thing. We're going to our first monster for the podcast is going to be the Tarrasque.
Always fun.
Yes. Uh, as a fun little thing, what do you know about the Tarrasque, Chaotic?
I know I faced it in DBD and stood no chance. DBD, D&D, and faced no chance. I know that it's also super tall and for no reason at all easy to release. As
Uh,
far as my D&D campaign was concerned, it was easy to release.
a lot of people use it in D&D, but its origins actually go back to it'd be French origins from about the 13th to 14th century. 1400.
That's old.
Yes. And it doesn't actually look like anything of the D&D Tarrasque. Their names are actually spelled the same besides the Tarrasque in the French lore. It only has one R instead of two. It said that the D&D creators used it as inspiration for the monster. Like you said, the D&D Tarrasque is very tall. I looked up the stats. It's about 50 foot tall and 70 foot long.
Good
Uh,
lord.
the Tarrasque of the folklore is, they say, it is greater than an ox, longer than a horse.
Hmm.
It's not quite as big.
That's definitely a huge difference.
Yeah. The and the one in the D&D also looks more Dragon Godzilla like. You
Mhm.
would agree? I don't know.
Yeah, I think I picture like a huge, almost like the big Hydra from Godzilla.
Yes.
That's almost what I picture, just one head instead of three.
But the one in the French, I'm going to read a little thing on medieval.eu's website they have about the Tarrasque. It says there was at that time on the banks of the River Rhone. I'm probably mispronouncing that wrong. In a certain wood between Arles and Avignon, a great dragon, half beast and half fish, greater than an ox, longer than a horse, having teeth as sharp as a sword, and horned on either side, a head like a lion, a tail as a serpent, and two wings which defended him on either side. He could not be beaten with casts of stone or with other armor, and was as strong as 12 lions or bears. This dragon lay hiding and lurking in the river, and ate those that passed by, and drowned ships. He came there by sea from Galicia, and was engendered by Leviathan, which is a serpent of the water and forest, and of a beast called Banacho. Banaco? Co? I am not good with pronunciation. That was also engendered in Galicia. Martha, at the prayer of the people, came into the wood and found him eating a man. And she cast holy water on him and showed the cross to him. At this, the dragon was immediately overcome, and standing still as a sheep, she bound him with her own girdle, and then it was slain with spears and glaives of the people. The dragon was called Tarascanus by those who dwelled in the country, whereof, in remembrance of him, that place is now called Tarascanus, which before that was called Burloo and the Black Lake, because there were shadowed woods, and there the blessed Martha lived daily occupied in prayer and fasting. Somewhat later, she assembled and gathered together a great covenant of sisters and built a fair church to honor of the Blessed Virgin Mary. It just goes on to say that she just lived her life there.
That's a little insane considering that she didn't know what she was walking up on, threw holy water at it, and then bound it with her own girdle. It's
Yeah,
pretty ballsy.
yeah, something as big as or greater than an ox and longer than a horse. How big would your girdle have to be to bind it?
I mean, if we think about Hagrid in Harry Potter and how wide he was, I'm not even sure that would cover it. So what she was wearing or doing is beyond me. Unless she just like stretched it out and took the girdle and like used like the string. But like again, how did she keep it that way?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Other sources I've seen said that it was almost impossible to kill. Why did it become so easy to kill after it was blessed? Probably just something with the church or blessings, I imagine.
I would I don't know. It's all very, I guess, lucky. Like I feel like the folklore, like I guess most folklore is kind of like that, but I feel like it was very convenient that she just had all of this on her
Yeah.
to use. Which I know the times were obviously different, but I don't know that I've ever heard stories of like the 1400s, right? That's what you said?
Yeah, it's like
Where
13,
everybody just like
1400s.
held pouches of holy water.
Martha was actually Saint Martha.
Saint, that's true. I would like to know her waist circumference for the girdle,
His magic girdle.
apparently.
Yeah, the description of the beast of the Tarrasque and seemed to be completely different from the one from D&D, being a lot smaller and having wings.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of pictured the one in D&D with wings, but I know that the mass of him wouldn't allow him to fly. I guess I just more so pictured like for usage of like destroying cities with gusts of wind or flapping for defense, I guess, is more so what I was thinking. So I did picture wings, but the idea of like the lion's head with horns and then like the serpent tail, which I think I've seen a drawing of this creature that you're talking about from the folklore before. So I don't know. But yeah, I definitely pictured like an oversized dragon, basically. Like a dragon mixed with a T Rex for D&D.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty accurate. Uh, there's Tarascon is actually still a place in France, and they actually have yearly festivals of the Tarasque.
Do they honor it or do they honor the slaying of it?
I'd say it's probably more of the slaying and honoring Martha, Saint Martha.
That's
Uh,
interesting. We should look more into do you know what all they do during the festival?
during the festival, it's a lot of festivities, and they make a. I'd say I was going to say parade float, but it's not really parade float. It's just large. At least in the olden times, I've seen videos of it too on YouTube. That they get inside this large made Tarrasque float. Six guys and they run through the streets. And as it's running through the streets, the mouth is opening and closing, and they just dash through crowds and crowds of people. And it's got a solid fixed tail, so as they're swerving around, this tail's just beating the entire crowd around as they're trying to grab onto the Tarrasque and pull one of its spikes out of its shell. And that's supposed to presume good luck in the coming future if you can pull it. But they got a chance of being smacked by this tail.
So you either get knocked out by all these people in this suit with the tail, or you grab a spike, or you get both. Like you grab a spike and you still get knocked in the into the wall by this tail, and you go home like this was really good luck.
Yes, pretty much. And they end at St. Martha's church or the Church of St. Martha they have there in town.
I feel like St. Martha would approve.
I would say so. It sounds like a fun experience. There's been some reports of broken bones because of the tail whip, but yeah, that's from what I understand, that's what they do. I think it's at the end of June they have this festival.
And you said this is in France?
Yes.
I've always wanted to go there, and now I have even more reason to go there because I want to see people. I don't want to get this shit beat out of me by a tail, but I would love to watch other people get
It
beat by this tail.
it looked like the newer one had the Tarrasque on rollers, so it's easier for them to run through the street faster.
That's so they increase the amount of bullying that they're
Yes,
doing through the streets. Oh my god.
and you imagine they get going with speed, they probably won't be able to make their turns and crash.
No,
Which,
they're definitely crashing. At least, can you imagine the poor families that are there to participate and get luck? And these children are just like, what is this? We've never been here. And they're just getting smacked around by this huge Tarrasque costume float on wheels with a dangerous tail trying to grab these spikes. Like, what a sight to see. It would be great.
it would be fun to participate in it. Yeah, that's pretty much the festival of it in Trask. What part of France is it in again? Handy dandy computer maps. Okay, so Tarascon is in southern France, near. Let's see, the biggest town I see is between Montpellier and Marseille. I'm not good with French with names. I don't know if you know where those are.
I took French, and if I looked at them, I could probably tell you, but just hearing them, no, probably not. But um, it's pretty. Does it tell you the population?
Uh, does Wikipedia tell me the population?
I would just like to know the amount of people getting the shit beat out of them by this tail religiously.
Population density, 15,195.
So there's quite a few people that willingly participate in getting the crap beat out of them by this tail. I would love to interview anybody that lives in that town about that whole entire festival. It's got to be a blast.
Yep. Plus all the tourists and everything that come for it, probably. That'd be a lot more people crowding the streets.
I didn't even think about the tourists either. And here I want to be one. And I wasn't even considering the amount of tourists they probably have each year.
Let me share my screen with you real quick. I got a picture of the guys that kind of paraded around. They're supposed to be knights, I believe.
Perfect. Let's see it.
You're gonna laugh at what the Tarrasque kind of his face looks like. Okay, was that what you were imagining?
No, but that's fantastic.
The shell of a turtle, the spikes on a shell from either side, a lion's mane, and almost like a person's head. For some reason, they gave him a person's nose.
It's beautiful. It really is. And they just run through the town with this monstrosity.
Yeah,
That's that's absolute perfection.
they got his tail hidden. Uh, that's another depiction of it.
I like
So
that stoneworking of it much better.
it looks
Much better.
yes, it's got 6 legs per
Hmm.
side, or
That's terrifying
three
if
on
you
either
think
side.
about it.
Yeah, if that was the actual size they have it, that's gonna be one large creature in today's
Yeah.
standard.
I don't think that in today's standard, if I came across that eating someone, I would pull holy water out.
Yeah,
I don't think that'd be my first go to.
like a lot of the depictions of it show him, Mary coming up to him and eating with a person half sticking out of his mouth.
Beautiful, of course.
Yeah, that was the older float they have.
And they just ran him, and you're trying to grab those spikes.
Yeah,
That's dangerous. That is so, and there's only a limited amount of spikes, and there's thousands of people. So these people are probably like fighting over these spikes.
gotta get all the spikes before the good spikes before the bad ones are gone or left. The ones on the
Right.
very top.
Getting hit by one of those spikes would have to hurt too. Like you said, like the new one with the wheels going out of control, like you'd want to move out of the way if they're about to smash into a wall with those spikes on the side.
Oh yeah, because if you get pinned between a spike and that, definitely
Whew,
some.
you'd get impaled. That would definitely hurt, unless they were like rubber or something now.
I would kind of hope they'd maybe make them softer. See if I can pull up that little tidbit I seen.
I'm watching intently.
Okay, can you see it on your screen?
Oh, yes, I can see it. Yep.
Okay.
Is this the older version?
I think this is the newer.
Oh my god, she just got knocked out. That poor photographer, and dude like ran her over with no apologies. He was just like, "You're in the way."
Hit that bank and just kind of curved up on it.
And she just, I mean, she literally, that head bounced off the wall. She was not even ready. They already lost control. They had just started.
Yeah, that has a lot of momentum from them to be pushing around the streets. It's tradition form.
Look at her. Look at her. Like, and if you back it up just a little bit more, you can see dude literally like run over her.
Yeah, at least it wasn't the Tarrasque hitting her. This
I don't know.
yeah
I feel like it hit her like kind of at first, and that's why he jumped out like to the side, and then she, yeah, it was just not good all around. Poor thing was getting knocked out.
I think this one had the. This is also part of them. They have a bunch of statues of knights and such.
Those are also terrifying.
See if I can pause it on the Tarrasque.
Oh my god, they're giant people. Terrifying, truly. And they just run that thing through the streets with wheels. The poor guys running beside the spikes got to get headaches because it looked like that one dude was smacking into that spike with his forehead a couple times.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Other dude's like way out, and that guy's like trying to turn it and leaning against it. It's got to not feel great. And then you got to try and grab a spike around these guys that are running. Like, I feel like it was set up for doom in the first place.
yeah. I'm starting to think that the spike grabbing might be part of the older tradition, as I don't see as many people trying to rush for it.
I am highly disappointed. I feel like they should have stuck with the spike grabbing.
I'm sure there's probably somebody that's still drunk and tries to go and grab one. But yeah, that was a little bit of stuff about the Tarrasque and some of the myth behind it, the tradition that's still kind of going on. We are not experts or I had a saying what I was going to say, but
Experts or
we are we are neither professionals nor experts in the subject.
110%. None of these subjects, either now or a future podcast, are we professionals or experts in. These are just fun things to learn.
Yeah. Now for a little bit of the chaos, the mayhem.
Fantastic.
What do you think would be like if these creatures would appear in real life at this point in society? Like if the Tarrasque actually just started walking up and sinking ships in the bays near Tarascon or anywhere in the world.
All right, so now are we talking D&D Tarrasque or folklore Tarrasque?
Let's go. Let's do a little bit of both. Let's start with the folklore first, just because that's where we left off talking.
All right, if it was like a folklore Tarrasque kind of ordeal, I feel like it'd be very Cloverfieldy. Have you ever watched Cloverfield?
I have not.
Okay, so basically Cloverfield is a giant mutant sea monster that like comes up out of the sea and starts destroying things. So it's Godzilla-y without being Godzilla. And everybody is kind of recording the end of the world. So you get the movie from camera view, and the terror and stuff you see on people and like the little minions that this mutant has brought up and like little infections and stuff like that or that are beginning. I feel like if it was in today's society, that's kind of what society would react with. Is it would be like doomsday, end of the world, because you could, even if it was an ox, like ox sized, and it was trying to eat people, could you imagine how society would react to something like that? Because like we have wild animals and stuff that attempt to do so, but we know things about them. So if something like that just showed up, I feel like it would be very monster-esque, survival, everybody think it's the end of the world type society standpoint.
So it'll cause chaos by just showing up and not really having to do much. People
Quite
are just
literally. All it would have to do is eat one person and everybody would lose their mind.
that's true. If you see that thing with its human-like teeth eating somebody, I think humans would try to eliminate it personally before getting too freaked out.
Well, that's where my standpoint comes in on D&D Tarrasque, because on D&D Tarrasque, I feel like the military would get involved immediately.
Oh yeah, 70 foot tall, 50 foot long, or 50
Yeah,
foot tall,
basically
70 foot
like
long. Yeah,
stomping on, like a whole state. or a whole city, then you just stomp on it. So like the military would eventually they would show up and just take it out or attempt to at least. Whereas I feel like with the folklore Tarrasque, it would start as like in a small town and people would think people were crazy and then it would eventually move on and they'd realize and eventually we would kill it. But I don't think it would be as fast as if the D&D Tarrasque showed up and just scared the bejesus out of everybody.
So the
Because like
so the
go ahead.
folklore would be more of a like the cryptid sightings and such. Like, hey, I've seen this creature. It looked like this. It's been eating people. People be
Well, and do we know how long it was around in the folklore before Saint Martha found it?
a while from. It's been It doesn't really say many how many days or whatnot because it was saying it
But
was ship taking drowning ships and such as well first. Or Saint Martha found it on
right, so
land.
it was like rumored that this thing existed, right? Because it was sinking things and doing things, and they
Yeah,
didn't know like specifics. And then she just saw it eating somebody sometime. So I feel like even though today's day and age is much more diverse, like, everybody has their cell phones out and stuff, and it would almost depend on where he emerged from, I guess. Because if like he emerged off of the shore of California, California is likely to have a more viral reaction than if they were to appear in the swamps of Louisiana. So if it appeared in the swamps of Louisiana and could lay low and was eating gators and sinking ships and doing things to survive and slinking, then it would be less likely to be caught quicker and it'd become more of like a today's day and age cryptid, like you said.
yeah, that's true. And the less populated areas or less phone heavy areas, media
Yep.
heavy, more likely for it to survive.
Right.
The
Yeah.
uh, how would we just have one of these things appear with them being only, or would there be a population of them?
I mean, I feel like with the folklore one, I mean, especially if it's been around for centuries, I would imagine it had found, or at least environmentally, it found a way to procreate. So the folklore one, we would have more of an issue of multiples, I think. The Tarrasque one, though, I feel like we're sticking to the Godzilla theme where it's like there can only be one. So even if
Yeah,
like another one showed up, like another Muto showed up, it would try and destroy it, kind of thing. And obviously, I don't expect the Tarrasque to actually have much brain like Godzilla does, because Godzilla knows the difference between the ones that are helping and the ones that aren't. But I just feel like if some other big monster showed up, the Tarrasque would be like, absolutely not. So I feel like there's only one.
yeah.
Because
The
even the Mutos, like the in Godzilla, there was two of them, but the female was going to kill the male when she had her kids. So there's always like a bigger, badder version, I guess, that's going to kill the other ones. And I just feel like the Trask wouldn't mess with all that.
Tarrasque is in the big Tarrasque or the
Yeah, like the
folklore?
D&D Tarrasque.
Yeah.
The folklore I feel like the folklore Tarrasque was more there to survive.
Mhm.
Like and again, I don't think it has much brain cell matter there. I don't think it's doing it because it knows what it's doing. I think it's just very animalistic. Like I'm hungry, so
It's
there's
more
things on the
beast
ship that
than,
smell good,
yeah,
right?
more
Whereas
instinct
the
hunter.
right and the D&D Trask would just show up because it's like I'm ready to fuck shit up. Like I'm starving. I've been starving for a couple of centuries or a couple thousand years, and you guys have tons of meat right here on this state. So that's where I feel like that one would come in, as opposed to the other one that would kind of just be like, it's survived in the darkness. It's survived sinking ships and eating things here and there. And I feel like there'd be a more possibility to have more of those than there would the bigger Tarrasque, especially without us knowing. I
Yeah.
feel like the other guys, the folklore guys, could kind of get away with us not knowing.
I think also that the in terms of maybe trying to wipe out the Tarrasque, they'd be less if they actually did, because I think it'd be more on the endangered species list. No one would be allowed to hunt it.
So,
It
like humanity more so trying to save it and preserve it because of its old nature, as opposed to trying to kill it.
Yeah, because there's been more than one instances uh, of cryptids becoming actual animals. The okapi is the main one I can think of. Do you know what the okapi is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Yeah, it was actually first spotted, and everybody thought it was a cryptid at first, but then it became became not a cryptid because they found
Yeah,
them.
yeah, I'd say, and again, I think it would have to do with where. I
Yeah,
think if it popped up on the side of California with like all the naval ships and stuff they have over there, they'd probably just take it out. But I feel like I said earlier, if it popped up like in the bay of like a Louisiana town, it would be more likely to encourage a scientist to come study it
yeah.
and maybe find out more about it first. The only issue there is, can it sustain itself off of only blood of humans, of like men, or can it just eat animals? Because we went down this route with Jurassic Park, and Jurassic Park definitely preferred humans.
I would say it's probably well, it's born of the Leviathan, which is a definitely a meat eater, and a Banacho, which is a scaly bison-like beast which burned everything it touched. So it's more of a bison, a meat eater, but I think it'd be omnivorous. So I think it'd probably be okay surviving not on human flesh. I think humans back in that day would probably be easier targets for it.
I agree. I agree. Just because back then it wasn't, obviously like we have guns and stuff now. It's much more detrimental to get caught now.
Yeah,
We're much more apex predators than then.
the D&D Tarrasque, like you said, there's no real arguing there. The military would probably get involved. I don't know how much effect they will have with as
Yeah,
hard
I don't
as
know.
they say its skin is.
Yeah. We'd have to find a mage pretty quickly.
Yeah,
We'd have to find somebody of magical. We'd have to find a Doctor Strange or something to either put it back where it came from.
but the one good thing about the Tarrasque is that once it gets its fill of destruction and eating, it goes back to sleep for a couple of decades or centuries. So we have a couple year, couple centuries to figure out how to end it or keep it sealed.
That's the D&D Tarrasque.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess we just sacrifice, a couple handsfuls of families, we'll be fine. Um there was something else I was going to say about the D&D Tarrasque, and I cannot recall at the moment as to what it was. Oh, it was the folklore Tarrasque actually. When you were reading the lore and stuff, when you were talking about the D&D Tarrasque, you said like it slinks back. Does the folklore Tarrasque have anything like that, or is it just always on?
I couldn't find anything about its habit of sleeping, being awake, or being out and about. Like I said, there's not much in the history of it, besides just that little bit with Saint Martha that I could find. Some of the stuff was in French. I do not.
That's what it was.
I d-
We were talking about the D&D Tarrasque going back into its hole or whatever, and I was like, we could just call Saint Martha. She's probably got holy water.
yeah,
Like, she'll just take care of it. It's fine. But the folklore Tarrasque, like, it has the turtle shell and stuff. So I almost wonder if it couldn't, like, if it had not been stunned by the holy water, if it couldn't just like right into the shell, just like
hmm,
just go into it. Because I mean, it's got the turtle shell. That's the literal purpose of the shell on the turtle, is its home and protection. So I would
yeah,
imagine it could kind of work like that. And if it's got the tail of a serpent and a head of a lion and like 6 feet, it doesn't have normal anatomy, anyways. So it very well could just slink back into a shell.
it's possible it could as protection, or maybe uh, there's been some that I've seen say that the Tarrasque is uh, somebody said it was a leftover Ankylosaurus, or I think it was
Mm,
Ankylosaurus
yep.
from the that survived for that long. Or somebody found a skeleton that looked like one.
Yeah, and evolution, if we stand by evolution, then they would have different legs and heads and create fur for warmth for cold, and they would have the serpent tail for other, they would eventually evolve to survive. So it wouldn't just be the the actual, for lack of a better term, dinosaur itself. It would have evolved into a different creature altogether to keep itself alive in all situations.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I think you're right. I think the folklore Tarrasque would be something of a marvel that scientists would want to get their hands on and keep alive and like in a habitat. But the D&D Tarrasque, there's just no argument there. They would definitely off that.
or at least they'd try.
Well, yeah, try with the armor skin. I just don't know. We'd have to either, I don't know. Like you said, we would. I mean, we would either take it out in time or it'd get full enough that it would just leave. So
Well, best just bet on the leave. We have to just wait for it to leave.
Well, I really hope it doesn't stomp this way then, because I don't really know how to avoid a Tarrasque. Those things are ridiculous.
That is true. With an intelligence of 3, it probably won't go for certain people. Alrighty then. That was the mayhem. But this is our first attempt at this whole podcast. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. Anything else you'd like to add, chaotically?
I don't know, Silver. I mean, I could sit there and talk about D&D Tarrasques all day because they're horrifying. But now that I know that there's a folklore that revolves around a possible animal, I might have to go visit a beach soon and imagine what that would look like coming up out the water. Other than that, I can't. I
Yeah.
just it then the difference. That's what's neat about the monsters and stuff is there's all kinds of different versions all over the world usually of all of these. So it's just neat to see how the different lores and sizes and takes on them are can affect actual mayhem side of it, like the society entry side of it.
I'm sure as we go on with this, we'll come across creatures and monsters, and that will wreak a lot. Probably not quite as much havoc, maybe more than the Tarrasque. Tarrasque has mainly pure destruction from the D&D side, like the Tarrasque of folklore, which not quite as much destruction as humanity's perseverance. Than
Yeah, but
when,
that'll be the cool part though is we have like you said these two different versions. Obviously, they had the destruction and the folklore is more like just sort of survival. But it'll be neat to like get into some monsters that are tinier and can do more damage just by going unnoticed. Unlike the Tarrasque itself in either or side, because we would definitely recognize it if we saw it in society today and know that it's different. Whereas there may be monsters we study from this episode on that could be like crazy small or able to blend in with other human beings and stuff like that and be like a danger on their own just because they are unrecognizable.
yeah, like maybe we'll get into some mimics or vampires blending in with society's objects.
Oh God, mimics. Oh God.
There is so many things mimics could be nowadays with as many items as people have.
A mimic cell phone would be terrifying.
Who would you call when your phone tries to eat you? So
Right, exactly. And where's your real phone? Because that's the one you thought was real.
we'll have to get into that in another episode of things that mimic, like maybe mimics and doppelgangers together.
That would be fun. We're gonna have endless episodes. This is gonna go on forever. There's so many monsters.
We'll figure out what we want to do. We're planning on maybe releasing the episodes every fortnight, which is, I believe, 2 weeks' time. Is that what we were thinking, Chaotic?
I believe so. So it'd be like every other Thursday
Yeah. Uh,
or Friday, however, whenever you're releasing it. Because I don't know how long this stuff takes to edit. You're the brains. I'm just the funny.
I'm not sure entirely. We'll have to see what it edits down to. Not sure what time I was aiming for lengthwise. All these episodes are probably going to be different lengths depending on the content available, but we'll try and aim for a certain time frame so that we can maybe add or subtract monsters from groups in order to give them their own kind of spotlight.
Yeah, I feel like too, like when we go through, like it could be anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour or a little over an hour with the episodes, but the idea of the more popular episodes, if we have multiple monsters, like breaking them down and focusing on them individually, so we'll have like sub episodes and stuff like that. So we'll have a lot to mess with. I think it's a good idea every other Thursday because that gives you, and it may not even take you a whole week to edit, but that gives you a week of time for editing if
And
you need it
research.
between. Exactly. So I think that'll work out pretty perfect.
Well, then, everybody, thank you for listening to our first podcast episode. Uh, if you do enjoy, please, not sure what you do on podcasts. You please leave a like or a review.
Like, review, share. If you can do a subscribe thing, do that. Like, if whatever support button there is right there, click it because you're going to want to continue to listen. So that's the best thing you can do. Promo everything. We are
Experts.
neither professionals nor experts of any of the subjects spoken about, but we try our damnedest to be hilarious and think about things in real terms and false terms of monsters, and mayhem, and I don't know what the other M was because I'm a terrible podcast co-host, but here we are.
Mo- Monsters, Myth, and Mayhem.
Monsters, myth, and mayhem. Why did I forget the myth? Like, it's right there. We're talking about myths, and it still just was. It's fine. It's fine.